kids may be dismissed to play practice. I was preparing for this, thinking about it a lot since Ray asked me to cover for him. And knowing what was going to come, some big news was going to come with Tuesday's election. To pondered on, do I just do some biblical exposition, fall back on my education at Johnson and just put that to use? Do I comment on the current events? I decided to do both. I have not gone to look at the news feed on my phone or really anything this week without having to hear something about one opinion or the other about the election. And think of it what you may. We have a new president-elect. Something else, a little piece of news that I heard about earlier in the week that probably was stated by me is go outside tonight, or at least look outside tonight. The moon is going to be as big as it's been in 70 years, just about 69, 70 years. They call it the supermoon. It's not going to look much different from a full moon, it's just going to be closer. Closest it's been in 70 years. If you go online, there's some explanations about what all the moons. There's a blue moon, black moon, on and on. But they say it's going to be at its biggest and at its closest at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. So get up early enough, step out and catch it. It'll be something to see. I'll probably, hopefully, be coming out of the gym at that time tomorrow morning. So but as I was thinking about all this, I thought, well, I've heard so many people ask the question, what do we do now? If you thought, extremely one way or the other, or you want to stay away from all of it regardless, people are asking themselves, what do we do now? Matter of fact, I had it on in the background as I was trying to put some work, to keep up with where things were at. And they were reporting on ABC at one point, I think sometime around midnight, the Canadian immigration website crashed. It had so much traffic when the reports were coming out that Donald Trump was a state or two away from closing, securing the electoral votes he needed. But having heard that question so much, what do we do now? Well, something that was a section of scripture that I know I spoke on years ago, but I want to come back to it. And Romans 13 is where we'll be for the majority of the day. I'll go ahead and turn there. Romans 13 is where we'll be. Start off by reading verses 1 through 7. If you want to read along with me, these some pages still trying, but verses 1 through 7, what are we going to do now? We're going to obey the law. Everyone must submit himself to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. Consequently, he who rebels against the authority is rebelling against what God has instituted. Those who do so will bring judgment on themselves. For rulers hold no terror for those who do right, but for those who do wrong. Do you want to be free from fear of the one in authority? Then do what is right, and he will commend you. For he is God's servant to do you good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword for nothing. He is God's servant, an agent of wrath to bring punishment on the wrongdoer. Therefore, it is necessary to submit to the authorities, not only because of possible punishment, but also because of conscience. This is also why you pay taxes. For the authorities are God's servants who give their full time to government. Give everyone what you owe him. If you owe taxes, pay taxes. If revenue, then revenue. Respect and respect, and honor and honor. As I thought about this idea that there is no institutionalized authority that God has not put into place. And Ray spoke last week, and this was part of what I was thinking about when he talked about the people wanted a king. They wanted, the theocracy wasn't enough. We will let God decide. Approach to how do we govern our people wasn't enough. So they said, we want a king. We want, the rest of the people have a king. We want one too. And we could look back, with hindsight and say, well, how that worked out for them, especially the first one, Saul. Not so well, but God was involved in that process. And so I went back and looked through a timeline of different biblical figures, not just within Israel, but certainly falls in there too. You have Hammurabi, who was leader of Babylon. And you had, some people say Ramses, especially if you watch the Ten Commandments, was Pharaoh during Moses' time, and during the Israelite slaveries in Egypt. Some recent research has gone to say that it might be Thutmose III. And I thought today would have been a great day for me to have used the PowerPoint and had a bunch of pictures of these folks. Because I looked them up, and of course all the pharaohs and all, it's mostly statues and artwork that depict their likeness that are interesting. You have King Saul in Israel, and of course King David to follow him, Nebuchadnezzar, and who was a Chaldean, who was in charge of Babylon. You move ahead a good ways to the New Testament, you have Caesar Augustus in Rome, Nero, more at you have Agrippa to Nero, so you get, during Rome's reign, you have different leaders. Very, very few of them got positive reviews in the Bible because of the way that they treated the Jews in particular. But when you think about it, God allowed all these leaders. Even if you come forward to all the kings that oversaw England and different areas, and folks in Rome, emperors and other leaders like the popes, through the years, and how Christianity survived all that. Because God had a hand in it. Even when we look and say, well, that wasn't, David was considered a man after God's own heart when he was a leader. You can't say that about all these people. And even if you look into American history, our presidents from Washington to Lincoln to FDR and Kennedy, Nixon, Carter, Reagan, Bush. Something interesting that came up when I was following some of the election stuff was they only went back as far as George H. Bush. But they said that, as Americans, we have kind of gone in opposition to the president before, ever since around that time, around the 80s. After George H.W. Bush was president, we elected Bill Clinton. Opposite. After Bill Clinton had his run, we elected George W. In some ways, the opposite of Bill Clinton. And then in 2008, we elected Obama. And they said if you could draw up in a lab and create somebody who was the exact opposite of President Obama, it would be Donald Trump. They were saying these things as it was, I didn't stay awake to see the confirmation that he had won as it was getting closer, they started lining this out. So, and like Ray said last week, our leader is going to be a reflection of our people. But God has a plan in all of this. And regardless, his instructions have been the same for thousands of years. So submit yourself to the authorities, do right. Pursue holiness. And go back with me to Luke 20 for a moment. See that it's not just Paul's writing to say this, but Jesus' words as well. Jesus had some spies approach him, starting in verse 20. Keeping a close watch on him, they sent spies who pretended to be honest. They hoped to catch Jesus in something he said so that they might hand him over to the power and authority of the government. So look, we even have the authorities conspiring against the Son of God. So even after we see this happening, Paul's still writing, submit yourselves to the authorities, to the people in Rome. These are Jewish authorities here, but nonetheless. So the spies questioned him, "Teacher, we know that you speak and teach what is right, and that you do not show partiality, but teach the way of God in accordance with the truth. Is it right for us to pay taxes to Caesar or not?" Okay. So, an attempt to entrap Jesus here. Because, is he going to acknowledge, as many people did, that Caesar being emperor was, and some people thought the emperors were close to God, so at least they, some of them wanted to be treated that way. So they were trying to see, well, what's he going to say about this? So Jesus said, "Hey, that denarius you got there, let me see that. Whose picture is this? An inscription on this piece of money?" They said, "It's Caesar's." Give to Caesar what's Caesar's. Give to God what's God's. And there's no doubt that this phrase and this response of Jesus is part of the reason why on our money it says in God we trust. Because it is expected that we're going to give back to God with his guidance. He's blessed us with the ability to, and that's the First Amendment is all about freedom of religion, because it was to break away from the oppression of the religion/government in England, and to worship God freely, as the Bible calls for it, not as man calls for it. So we see here, even in the face of government conspiracy to take down the Son of Man, to take Jesus down, Jesus is saying, pay your taxes. Follow, obey the law. But honor God. We're going to obey the law. In verses 8 through 10, the next section we're going to review. And apparently all we need is love. It's like the Beatles sang some time ago. Not quite. But verse 8, let no debt remain outstanding, except the continuing debt to love one another, for he who loves his fellow man has fulfilled the law. The commandments: do not commit adultery, do not murder, do not steal, do not covet, and whatever other commandment there may be are summed up in this one rule: love your neighbor as yourself. Love does no harm to its neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfillment of the law. So as I was reading through this, the song came to mind, sure. Well, how can we do this? How can we follow the rules, obey the law, if we don't agree with the authority? We see that authority is not somebody who's keeping God at the forefront of their leadership. Love your neighbor. Just do that. The rest will take care of itself. And then as I was reading through it, and it got through those, do not do this, do not do that commandments. Verse 10 says, love does no harm to its neighbor. And it had me thinking of, I didn't know the Latin right off, but I'm not going to lie and say it did. But the Latin is primum non nocere. And that's what a lot of people think is part of the Hippocratic oath that doctors take, to do no harm to their patients. We have the same thing in our ethical guidelines and counseling. Whatever, as long as it's not our own agenda, if it's their goals, our intervention to help them with their goals, and it's not intended to harm, then we're okay. But that's the goal, is to not do them any harm. And if you think it may be a risky type intervention, some people, who have a lot of anxiety and get very afraid of things, even phobias, one of the treatments for that is called flow. And it would be if, let's just say, about Jason's afraid of spiders. I want to help Jason get over his fear of spiders, so if he came on up and had him sit down and blindfolded him, and I had a little case of spiders, a little aquarium type thing, and I put him in his lap and said, hold this for me. I took his blindfold off. He's holding a box of spiders, something he's very afraid of. I'm flooding him with it. Or I could even take it a step closer to blindfold him and then kind of put them all over his arms. And then he opened his eyes and he's got them all over him. And say, look, you're okay. That would be, but that could do harm, because if he reacted a certain way, then maybe one would bite him and do harm him, and then solidify the fear, the phobia that he has. So we don't want to do any harm. And that's what Paul's saying here, is that if you're loving your neighbor, you're not going to do any harm. You're not going to be doing any wrong. You're not going to be found guilty of breaking the law. So, obey the law. We're going to love one another. 1 Corinthians. What good is that going to do? Chapter 13, starting in verse 3. It says, if I give all I possess to the poor and surrender my body to the flames, but have not love, I gain nothing. Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it is not rude, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. Always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. We sang that this morning. God's love never fails. It never gives up. It never runs out. For where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, we prophesy in part, but when perfection comes, or completion comes, the imperfect disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child, thought like a child, and I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put childish ways behind me. Now we see a poor reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. I know in part, and I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. Now these three things remain: faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love. So we can have faith all we want. Things are going to be okay. No matter what the situation is in the country, God is going to not let it get too bad. He's going to take care of us. I hope that things do get better. They don't get, terrible. But we're going to continue to love each other, our neighbors, spread the gospel through love. that's going to be the greatest thing that can happen of all. Not, some people may look at us and say, wow, how do you have that kind of faith and that hope? We can answer, through Jesus. But they'll see it, they'll experience it when we show them love in all these different ways that Paul laid out here in 1 Corinthians. Being patient and kind and not being rude or self-seeking or easily angered. By protecting, trusting, and persevering. So we need love. And lastly, we need to be ready. Back to Romans 13, verse 11. To do this, understanding the present time, the hour has come for you to wake up from your slumber, because our salvation is nearer now than when we first believed. The night is nearly over, the day is almost here. So let us put aside the deeds of darkness and put on the armor of light. Let us behave decently, as in the daytime, not in orgies and drunkenness, not in sexual immorality and debauchery, not in dissension and jealousy. Rather, clothe yourselves with the Lord Jesus Christ, and do not think about how to gratify the desires of the sinful nature. So, it's interesting. We're going to obey the law, we're going to love one another, but it's time to wake up. I'm awake, I'm alert, I'm concerned, I know what's going on. No. It's time to really wake up. Rise from our slumber. There's a movie, Adam Sandler has not put out a good movie in a long time. There's one he put out a while back that had a very good message behind it. It's called Click. It wasn't one of his most acclaimed or favorite movies, but essentially he meets a guy that offers him a remote control that can change his life. While I think we've all dreamed of a device like this at times, when his wife was giving him a hard time, he could point it at her and hit the mute button. She's going, but he's not hearing anything. Or, one of the most boring meetings that he could care less about being in, fast forward. His boss was berating him, making, saying things that would make you feel terrible about yourself. He hits the pause button, gives him a couple good whacks, and then unpause, and goes, oh, something happened. Nobody's, boss is none the wiser. But there was a while where a lot of things were going on that it was a rough season in his life, and he just hits the fast forward button and lets it go. And partway through the movie, he's noticing that he thinks the remote's malfunctioning because now seasons of his life are passing him by. He goes back to the guy that gave him the remote and said, what's going on? He said, well, it's learning your preferences. And you've been living on autopilot for some time now. You've been fast forwarding your way through life. And so he thinks that's what you want. Then he, has the revelation in the third act of the movie. Hadn't seen it, it's been out for a while, so sorry for spoiling it, but not to go through life that way. It turns out it was one of those things where it was all a dream, and he's back in the present day. Almost like a Scrooge type moment where he realizes the error of his ways and goes to set things straight. So we got to stop living on autopilot. We got to wake up. It's so easy. We have been deemed creatures of habit by psychologists and other mental health people like to say. Routine is best. You go through time of grief or anything, stick to your routine. Kids come to the hospital for 5 days, and after that, the doctors say, we want them back in school as soon as possible. And keep them out for 3 or 4 more days and add to their unexcused absences. Get back to work, get back to school. Get the resources in place, have help, but get back to your routines. But it's so easy sometimes to get caught up in that routine. And if part of that routine does not include time with God, prayer, reading the Word, being here, fellowshipping with other people, studying, then you'll miss out. It's real easy to do that sometimes. You got to stop living on autopilot. with me to Psalms 35. Psalm 35. Verses 22 and 23 read, O Lord, you have seen this. Be not silent. Be not far from me, O Lord. Awake and rise to my defense. Contend for me, my God and Lord. So here, we're asking, make sure. This was one of David's Psalms. David's asking God, please don't sleep on me. You see all this stuff going on, and how terrible it is. Be near me. Fight for me. Protect me. David's asking that of God, and essentially through Paul, God is just asking the same thing of us. Hey, I know it's not always easy. I know it's going to be rough. But obey the law, love each other, wake up. Don't try to cruise through life. Get stuck in some routine. And looking ahead over in Psalms, just skip over a book to Proverbs chapter 10. And I remember at one point, talking to Ray years ago, I think we were talking about something somebody did, and I said, he was such a fool. And talking to Ray, said, I think that was appropriate the way you use that. He said, but be careful how you use that word. I said, what? I said, fool. Yes. I said, fool is a serious word in the Bible. And so we started reading through sections of Scripture where God uses the word fool, and it is. And we look at 10:8 here, the wise in heart accept commands, but a chattering fool comes to ruin. And we read here in chapter 13 that if you're involved in these deeds of darkness and you're not behaving decently, if you're living out of jealousy or debauchery or dissension, if that's your aim, then destruction's going to come. You're going to come to ruin. That's a foolish life, to chase those things. But here, Solomon writes, the wise in heart accept commands. So we're being commanded by God. Pray the law, love each other, wake up, do those things, and we're not chattering fools and setting up for our own destruction. You might think, well, Chad, you say this, and it's here, it's obvious. God's laid this out for us. This nice little 3-point exposition on what do we do now. Obey the law, love each other, wake up. How do we go about it? Paul started the conversation on that. Part of the conversation that was a chapter ago, Romans 12. At the beginning of that chapter, he says, therefore I urge you, brothers, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You'll be able to test and approve what God's will is. It's good, pleasing, and perfect. So it's a process. It's not going to be easy. It's not quick. It's not something to have an infomercial about and have people pay $29.95 for 3 installments to be set. This is a daily grinding process where we are making God part of our ministry, keeping our head on the swivel, see what's going on around us, and on almost frequently or constantly reaching out to him going, help me through this. What do you want me to do? Because maybe sometimes we've done it before and it's easy to know how to love somebody in a given situation. There might be other times where it's not. So we need to be in the process of transforming our minds, changing our minds, so that we're able to know what God's will is and what He wants us to do in those situations. So if you are in a position where you're not sure how to go about this, you don't know, how does that process even start of that transformation? It starts with standing up, walking down this aisle, confessing in front of everybody. You're in the same position we were all in as the sinner in need of grace. And from there, we walk you through the rest of it. So if you're in that position this morning, you need to know how to start. As we stand and sing our invitation song, please come forward.